From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang and here are the news. Malacañang on Wednesday announced that Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. will hold a bilateral meeting with Singaporean President Tharman Shanmugaratnam, who will arrive in the Philippines on Thursday for a 3-day state visit. In a statement, Presidential Communications Office or PCO Secretary Cheloy Garafil said President Marcos and First Lady Luis Araneta Marcos will welcome President Shanmugaratnam and his spouse Mrs. Jane Itogi Shanmugaratnam as they embark on a 3-day state visit to the Philippines starting on Thursday, August 15th. Garafil said the Philippine President and the Singaporean President are also expected to witness the signing of Memoranda of Understanding or MOUs on the recruitment of Filipino healthcare workers and collaboration on climate financing. This will be the second time the chief executive will meet with Shanmugaratnam. The first bilateral meeting between the two was held at the Istana in Singapore last May 31st. During their first meeting, President Marcos invited Shanmugaratnam and Singaporean Prime Minister Lawrence Wong to the Philippines. This will be the first time for Shanmugaratnam to visit the Philippines in his official capacity as Singapore's new head of state. The last Singaporean leader to visit the Philippines was Halima Yacob in 2019. Garafil said President Marcos would relay to Shanmugaratnam the Philippine government's renewed commitment to strengthening collaboration with Singapore. The Philippines and Singapore formally established their diplomatic relations on May 16, 1969.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news stories, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. directed the Department of Agriculture or DA to increase and make accessible soil testing centers in different areas in the country. Soil testing centers are important to check soils for farming and determine the exact volume of fertilizers needed. In a meeting in Malacañang, the President particularly pointed out the shortage in the country of soil testing centers. The chief executive said the government cannot give farmers advice as to how much fertilizers to use because the government doesn't know the specific condition of the soil. President Marcos added that there should be at least one testing center for every region in the country. In relation to this, the DA recommended to conduct soil mapping and agri-limming starting in Luzon to widen the sugar industry in the country.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news stories, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. ordered the Cooperative Development Authority or CDA to study the possibility of coordination between agriculture cooperatives and local government units or LGUs to strengthen the development and training of farmers in the country. According to Communications Secretary Cheloy Velicaria Garafil, the President made the directive following the recommendation of the Private Sector Advisory Council or PSAC in creating an office under the Department of Agriculture or DA that will particularly focus on capacity building and professionalization of agricultural cooperatives. Nevertheless, the chief executive pointed out that cooperatives are covered by the CDA. That's why President Marcos suggested to have a coordination with LGUs. CDA is an attached government agency of the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, that promotes the development of cooperatives.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, Philippine Department of Finance, or DOF Secretary Ralph Recto announced that the Philippines will receive an A- credit rating from the Rating and Investment Information, or RNI, the largest credit rating agency of Japan. This was shared by Secretary Recto after the briefing of Development Budget Coordination Committee, or DBCC, at the Senate on Wednesday with regards to the proposed 2025 national budget. The Finance Secretary perceives the credit upgrade as a milestone achievement for the Philippines. Recto said this is the first credit rating upgrade under the leadership of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. that proves investors and creditors trust the President's leadership in running the economy of the country. With the higher credit rating, Recto said, the government and private sector's borrowing cost will be cheaper and cost-effective. This is also expected to attract more foreign investments for the Philippines and create additional jobs for the Filipino people. In the RNI's report, the credit upgrade was due to the Philippines' sound macroeconomic stability, higher economic growth path, and continued improvement in the country's fiscal balance. The Japanese credit watcher also believes the country's loans will go down. Meanwhile, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or BSP, welcomed the latest upgrade from RNI of A- with stable outlook from the BBB, or BBB+, with positive outlook rating. This is the second A-level rating of the country since the RNI upgraded the Philippines to A- last 2020. According to the Japan Debt Watcher, this is due to the robust external position of the country, easing inflation, stable banking sector, sufficient foreign exchange reserves, stable inflows from overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs, and foreign direct investments. BSP Governor Eli Remolona said the BSP remains to be committed in implementing its mandate to promote the stability of prices, finance, and excellent payments and settlement system towards inclusive economic growth. An A rating indicates an investment grade rating that has a lower credit risk, which permits a country to access funding from development partners and international debt capital markets at a lower price.
Dateline Malacañang.
In a related story, Philippine Department of Finance, or DOF Secretary Ralph Recto gave an update on the Maharlika Investment Corporation, or MIC, that governs the Maharlika Investment Fund, or MIF. In the continuing briefing of the Development Budget Coordination Committee, or DBCC, at the Senate, Recto said MIC is expected to start investing this year. Secretary Recto explained that just like other startup companies, MIC needs time to pinpoint where it should invest. Since the enactment of MIF, MIC has only been operating for 6 to 7 months. According to the Finance Secretary, as of now, the MIC board is complete, comprising of the Development Bank of the Philippines, or DBP, Land Bank, DOF, and the private sector. The secretary also said that they were able to find an office but are still in the process of hiring employees and still meeting on the possible income of these possible MIC employees. Recto also clarified that the proposed 2025 national budget did not allocate any funding to the Maharlika Fund. The MIF 75 billion peso seed fund, which came from Land Bank and DBP, is already invested in the National Treasury and its interest will be used to operate the MIC.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine National Economic and Development Authority or NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan outlined the government's plan to achieve its target of lowering poverty rate in the Philippines by 9% before President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s term ends in 2028. In the continuing briefing of the Development Budget Coordination Committee or DBCC at the Senate, Balisacan said that in the latest data this 2023, poverty rate in the country stands at 15.5%. Secretary Balisacan said the government's game plan is to maintain the continuous development of the country's economy and make sure that this development be inclusive or no Filipino will be left behind. The secretary added that the government has a self-protection system for its citizens who cannot follow the country's development, and these are included in the government's assistance programs such as the Food Stamp Program and the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program or 4Ps. The NEDA secretary said they also target to create high-quality jobs because even though unemployment rate dropped in the Philippines, Balisacan admitted that quality jobs are insufficient. Balisacan said the government is also focusing on addressing inflation, especially food inflation, because food is the primary commodity of poor Filipino families.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, the Philippine House of Representatives have solicited the commitment from the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office or PCSO to pay for the cost of doctors' professional fees from private and public hospitals. The development followed after the meeting between House leaders along with PCSO General Manager Mel Robles and Philippine Medical Association or PMA President Hector Santos on Wednesday. According to Speaker Martin Romualdez, this fulfills the wish of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. to make healthcare free for every Filipino. Speaker Romualdez said that hopefully by October 30, this will be approved, adding that this period will be used to refine modalities so that the implementation of the coverage of professional fees of all medical practitioners will now be covered by the government under the auspices of the PCSO. Robles said PCSO targets to implement the extended policy by October 30, which will be the day of charity of the President. Under the expanded medical assistance program of the PCSO, professional fees will be included in financial aid. This also includes payment of the room as rooms are insufficient in public hospitals. That's why even though patients are not indigents, they end up being admitted in private hospitals. Among the provisions of the policy, the PCSO has 45 days to pay a guarantee letter, but most of the fees will be paid by the agency in 30 days. Meanwhile, PMA President Santos thanked the steps being undertaken by the government, noting that professional fees usually take 3 to 4 months to be paid.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news stories, the Philippine Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG has appointed a new acting municipal mayor of the municipality of Bamban in Tarlac Province. Municipal Councilor Erano Timbang was sworn in by DILG Secretary Benhur Abalos on Wednesday at Camp Crame in Quezon City. Timbang will serve as acting mayor of Bamban in the next 3 months. After 3 months, he will be replaced as acting mayor by the suspended vice mayor. Timbang will then be the acting vice mayor of the municipality. As acting mayor, Timbang vowed to continue the programs and projects the local government have already started. On Tuesday, the Office of the Ombudsman ordered the dismissal of suspended Mayor Alice Guo as mayor of the said town. The Ombudsman proved that the mayor, along with other officials of the local government unit or LGU, including the vice mayor, was guilty beyond reasonable doubt of the cases filed by the DILG.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Philippine Department of Finance or DOF's official X account has been hacked. In an official statement, the DOF said their official X account at DOF_PH has been compromised and they currently can't access it. The DOF warned the public to refrain from clicking links to their post. Currently, the agency has a new X account at DOF.gov.ph. The DOF called on the public to disregard any post from their old X account while they are in the process of deleting the said account. The agency assured that they are on top of the security in all their digital platforms. The DOF said they will implement additional measures to prevent the repetition of the incident. The agency also extended its apologies to the public for any misunderstandings brought by the hacking.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.820 MHz, and 12.010 MHz. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Steph Vicente. Good day and stay safe, everyone.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.